Good. Welcome back to Natural Health Shops. I'm Eddie Hochschlag, and tonight we're going to be talking about gut-brain connection. Dr. Markey is going to take the nutritional side with the leaky gut as it pertains to the GAPS diet. We'll talk much more about what GAPS actually stands for. Dr. Chip will talk about the physical part with the nervous system and how that relates with the digestion. And I'm going to be talking about quantum physics, my favorite topic, with emotions and how that pertains to gratitude. Dr. Mark, up first.
All right. Great, thanks, Ed. It's a pretty interesting topic tonight. We have done quite a bit of information on the coronavirus thing, and you can look through that. You can also see some of the research coming out now. Some of the stats are really showing us that some of the claims are a little bit inflated. So everybody just stand by, stay calm, and let's look at the stats. Try not to pump Facebook up real loud so everybody's all fearful. Eddie will talk about that later. We want to try to keep away from that emotion. It's very, very energy lowering and hard on the immune system. But tonight we're going to talk about the leaky gut and the GAPS diet. GAPS stands for Gastrointestinal Psychological Syndrome. And I'll talk about that because it has a lot to do with immunity. And I'll explain in a couple of really easy ways what that's got to do with anything. So let's go ahead and go through the first slide. Great, this is a great slide here. And so this is actually the gut itself, the lining of the gut itself. And what we're looking at here is how leaky gut happens as we have the tight junctions in the cells of the gut. And if they're tight, nothing gets through there. Of course, these are the cells here, and then this is the bloodstream here that things get into. Well, in our office, we see almost every patient that comes in has leaky gut. And it's because of the diets and the inflammation that happens in the gut lining that allows these tight junctions to separate. And of course, it's just micro separations, not a lot, but enough to allow some of these things to get into the bloodstream. And we see it a lot with food allergies because these food particles get into the glutens, lectins, things that are food proteins from foods get into the bloodstream, which is not supposed to be there. And the body fights it as an allergen response. Then everything is inflamed all the time. So every time you eat that stuff, you're just inflaming yourself all the time, 3 meals a day. So we work with a lot of our patients in our nutrition response testing technique to get that figured out, get that under control, get that gut healed back up. Just think about what happens if your gut's not working right. So for one thing, you're going to have all these toxins, but secondly, you're not going to absorb foods. You're not going to absorb the things you need to absorb to be healthy. So important to get this handled. Another big one is the microorganisms like molds and yeast. Toxins get in there. All kinds of things get into that through those leaky gut loose junctions, leaky gut junctions, and get into the bloodstream. So we have problems then with nutrient absorption because of this problem, autoimmunity because the body is already hyper-stimulated all the time. And just as a quick aside, viruses don't kill you. It's a cytokine storm because of an autoimmunity or a hyperimmunity problem. So we want to get that digestive system working correctly so the immune system works correctly. Your body's so tied together. So really important to understand that. The food intolerances, again, that's the food allergies that we find because of the proteins that get into these tight junctions into the bloodstream. The body fights as an allergen response. Blood-brain barrier breach. Again, as these things happen in there, the B and T cells and all those things, you get into blood-brain problems. Then we're getting, that's another reason for Alzheimer's, dementia, all this kind of stuff that goes on out there. And the systematic inflammation, again, just like we talked about with the proteins getting in there, then the body's fighting these allergen responses, and we get systematic inflammation throughout the bloodstream. Again, that lends towards your problem with plaquing and that kind of stuff. And again, we talk a lot about around here that cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol is what the body uses to plug all these gaps due to all these problems here. So cholesterol is kind of like the guy who got caught at the scene of the crime just because he was walking by, one of those deals. And so the medics are big into cholesterol watching. Well, it lends towards all kinds of problems. The liver produces 80 to 95% of your cholesterol. So dietary cholesterol really doesn't matter a whole lot. A whole other topic. So anyway, we'll try to stay on topic. So again, this is a big thing, and because most people have this problem, that we used to come into the office. And that's one of the main things we start with, working on them to get an avenue of detoxification happening and to reduce this inflammation throughout the body. So really important to handle this gut-brain connection through leaky gut. Again, we talked about the blood-brain barrier breach. If all this stuff goes awry, we have blood-brain barrier breach. Also, there's a lot of, in the probiotics in the bowel, there's a lot of the chemicals that are made for the brain involved there. I think Dr. Chip's going to talk more about that when we get into that in a little bit. So he'll talk about that. So we'll talk real quickly about the GAPS diet. So the GAPS diet was a diet developed by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. And the deal is here, she has an autistic child that she was trying to figure out what was going on in there. And so we won't get into the reasons for that at this time, but the autism was a big problem. So she figured out over time that to help treat that, had to use a diet, and it used bone broth, soups and stews, things like that to re-heal that gut lining. And so she has developed her own diet book and recipe books and all kinds of things that go along with this. Great for just general information. What we do in our office with nutrition response testing is figure out exactly what that body needs and exactly what the problems are. So these are kind of adjunctive things that we use even in our office to give people recipes and things like that. But the information is really good. She has her own book, her own recipe book, really good information that we help promote in our office here. And so I think, again, too, the importance of the gut flora and its influence on your health cannot be overstated, which is really true. People don't realize that there is more bacteria in your gut than there are cells in your body. And so it's another important thing to realize. If you're taking antibiotics, guess what? You're going to have this all screwed up in here, because you're going to set off problems with the yeast and mold. You're going to kill off all the good bacteria. Yeast and mold is going to take over. And so a couple other things that are important to realize for immunity is that if you're eating sugar, you're going to lower the pH. Actually make the pH more basic, which is actually higher. So what we want, then what that happens, what that does then, it changes the environment for these buggies, and the yeast gets a foothold, gets a higher foothold, especially the candida, the bad yeasts that cause toxins to be released. And these toxins kill off your white blood cells, your killer cells, your T cells, those kind of things in the body, and lower your overall immunity. So again, not only is the sugar robbing your body of vitamins, but it's causing this pH balance problem in the gut, and that's a big issue there. So again, the body it's really important that you're working with good foods and get away from all these sugars, which was what we help patients do with our nutrition response testing technique, because it's easy. It's not easy to get off of sugar. Sugar is a drug. The body gets hooked on it. It's very hard to get off of it. And so people just say, well, just get off of sugar. Well, that's easier said than done. And our society is set up to have sugar all the time for birthday parties, holidays. We've got Easter coming up. We just went through, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, St. Patty's Day, all these excuses to eat a lot of junk. So we just have to realize what this is doing to our systems. And good. So your gut literally serves as your second brain, and even produces more of the neurotransmitter serotonin. Again, part of the gut-brain connection. The two work together. The challenge is to identify strategies to optimize the bacterial population, so that you can live in a beneficial symbiotic relation where they nourish you, help you fight disease, and optimize your health. So a lot of good things, a lot of things that these beneficial bacteria do. So it's important to realize when you take antibiotics, which a lot of doctors, if you have a viral cold, they just still give you antibiotics. And so then people run around and then they have a yeast infection pretty soon. They have a lot of bloating in the gut, yeast infections, all kinds of stuff. Well, it's from the bacteria, it's from the antibiotics. And we got to quit using all these antibiotics. And we got to start working on getting our immune system strengthened up and make that a priority in our body, in our country, as far as that goes. And when you have problems, we have to worry about all these issues. So you can imagine, and I'm not trying to pick on any one person or any one institution, but you can imagine older people in a nursing home. I think this is what happened in Washington State. Old people in a nursing home working on the food pyramid, which has starches and carbs and grains at the top. They're sitting there eating all this sugar and junk all day, not doing anything, watching TV. Well, they're prime candidates for viruses and infections to cause trouble. Even the regular flu, unfortunately, takes a lot of those out of our society because of just their lowered immune system. So what should we do? The opposite. Don't do that kind of stuff. We have to age, of course, but there's definitely ways to help keep your body healthy as you age. The ideal for us in natural health, with nutrition response testing and chiropractic and our emotional work, is to keep people healthy throughout your whole life. We're not going to live forever, but we want to be healthy throughout the whole time. Stay out of nursing homes. Stay out of the hospital if you can. I mean, it's not that we have anything against them, but we want people to stay out of those if they can. So anyway, that's probably enough for me tonight. I'll turn it over to Dr. Chip, and he'll explain more. Dr. Chip.
All right. How's everybody doing today? So I will be talking about how the nervous system plays an important role in gut, digestion, and also immunity. Okay, so this is an article I found online about, again, how the gut and the immune system is very well related. So this is from Johns Hopkins Medicine. It states from Dan Peterson, a huge proportion of your immune system is actually in your GI tract. So what Dr. Mark was stating is that a lot of bacteria is in your gut. And so this microbiome, you could say, in your gut also plays a huge role in your immune system. And so again, eating the healthy foods, taking the right nutrition can help maintain a healthy immune system. I'll kind of correlate this with how the nervous system plays a factor. So the nervous systems, again, the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, kind of on the back side here, going down the back, and then the peripheral nervous system, more of your voluntary. So the peripheral nervous system is the ones that extend out from the spine and brain. And so the voluntary, which means the ones like moving your arms, is kind of that one. The autonomic is more of your involuntary, such as digestion, heart rate, breathing, and so forth and so on. And so again, why is that important? Because the central nervous system conducts and coordinates every other system. And so again, if we have too much stress on the brain, if we have bad thought patterns, if we're eating the wrong foods, which I'll explain later how that's connected with the brain, and that we're being physically stressed, such as overtaxed with working out or doing too much exercise, can lead to improper rest and digest here. And so we'll talk about kind of the sympathetic, kind of your fight or flight system, and the parasympathetic, more of your rest and digest. And so again, the fight or flight system helped us evolve to where we were able to get out of different situations in the past, such as running from the tiger, such as fleeing from something, or fighting something. And so again, when that happens, when we get in that sympathetic kind of overdrive, it shunts the blood from the core into the bigger muscles, such as your arms and your legs, to run or fight. Now that was very protective for us back then, but we don't have that tendency, we don't have that situation anymore. We're not running from the tiger, we're not defending ourselves. But it seems like we're always having something stressful on our mind, which puts us in a sympathetic overdrive system, and that causes the same reaction. It doesn't matter if you're either doing that or thinking it, you're still in that sympathetic overdrive. And most people nowadays are in that sympathetic overdrive. And so that's a very far off on one extreme. Now the parasympathetic is the one that helps us rest and digest. Now again, you can be too far parasympathetic, like not being able to get out of bed. That is too far on that side. And so it's always a good balance. We want to make sure that we're well balanced and well structured so that we are able to help deplete or help kind of maintain that balance of stress, and so that our brain and body are very well connected. Okay, so the nervous system stress, and again the gut and immune system. And so again, increased nervous system stress causes a decreased nerve and blood supply to your gut and to your immune system, which again is very important for these times of stress. And so again, it's always important to minimize that stress as much as possible. And how you can do that again is eating the right foods, getting it chiropractic adjusted, which helps the nervous system kind of de-stress and help and maintain a good thought patterns, kind of get rid of the negative thinking and the fearful thought patterns, such as what Eddie will explain here later on. And so again, if you're stressed out more, you're going to be more vulnerable to different chronic illnesses and different immune system problems, such as infections or viruses. So it's always important to have a strong body and mind, and so that you're able to protect yourself. Okay, so kind of the anatomy, kind of how it directly coordinates here. So your central nervous system, we're going to talk about the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so the spinal cord nerves, these nerves from the brain and spinal cord go directly towards the different organs of the body. And so a good one for digestion is your thoracic nerves, kind of the mid-back here. And there's different nerves that go directly towards your digestive organs. And so if that communication if there's an interference there, your organs aren't able to function at 100% or optimal. And so it always has to be in a stressful area or situation. And so again, the gut has a direct connection to the brain via the vagus nerve. Now the vagus nerve is called the wandering nerve. It is the longest cranial nerve in your body. So it goes from your head to your gut directly. And so that, again, is a very direct connection. And so when you're eating the wrong foods, when you're not taking care of your gut, that alone can cause different brain issues. And so a lot of people think that, oh, I have anxiety, I have a mood swings, I have depression or anything like that, even more extreme brain disorders, that could be a lot related to the gut. Again, most of your neurotransmitters or your brain chemicals are produced in your gut. So I guess that's all from me. Thank you. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Edward here.
Thanks, Dr. Ship. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about quantum physics, and I really do think that this is one of my most favorite, powerful kind of topics, just because when we look at quantum physics or emotions or gratitude, it all pretty much comes down to energy. And everything that we do is energy, and that's really all there is to it. This good old man, Albert Einstein, was essentially stating that whatever we have in our reality is essentially what we need to match. But if we can get that reality, we can match it, and there really is no other way. And this is kind of how quantum physics works when it comes to like tuning forks. You've ever seen those guys where you hit one tuning fork and you put another tuning fork together and it kind of resonates the same way? Well, this is not philosophy anymore. This is now physics. And I'm going to give you a couple more quotes here, but when we talk about thoughts and emotions, we need to talk about that really, we're just in a continuously thought pattern when it comes to our subconscious mind. So if our thoughts, which are mixed in kind of our feelings and emotions, that emotion kind of gives it more of a magnetic charge. It's gonna attract the things that you want in your reality. And this can happen for good things that you're using a lot of positive emotions with, but you can also use this to kind of attract kind of the negative emotions coming into your life. So this is exactly the same exact way as a magnet works. It's just down the same exact lines. Once a magnet comes in and correlate with steel, then it'll actually attract it in. And it's essentially just using the same frequency as it's lining up to. So if we put that in how we are created, I guess in that sense, is where we put our attention is where we can put our energy. And essentially that can come from on outside, if we're kind of figuring out things that we're kind of going to put our attention towards, or from within. So if we're constantly thinking of things inside of us, when we do our meditations, or we're, about to go to sleep, and we're kind of attracting these like negative things to come back into our reality, then we can sense that where you put your attention is where you're going to put your energy. So let's look at that as a little bit sense as fear. Fear is one of those emotions that are very, very kind of low vibrational. That really cripples people. And when we kind of come down to how the fight or flight response when it comes to the sympathetic dominance cases, we're past that. Why are we fearing so much? I know it's easier said than done, but we have to understand, but a lot of these emotions like anxiety, worry, tension, stress, all relate from this big guy named fear. So we have to understand that fear is essentially stating that we're just getting too far into the future. When we understand when it comes to quantum physics or the subconscious mind only knows the present moment. It doesn't know the future. The mind only pretends where the futures are going. So if we kind of get ourselves back into the present moment, which is really all there is, and we kind of get rid of those emotional attachments that are tied to fear, like anxiety, worry, stress, tension, then we can kind of get ourselves back into the present moment and create us to be much, much more relaxed. Like I said, it's much easier said than done, but when we understand the importance of the subconscious mind, we're going back to how this is a habitual mind. And this is correlating all the way back between the ages 0 and 7, which is the majority of where all these emotions are coming from, or based from. So if we can kind of go back, even internally, and kind of get ourselves back to our childhood and get those emotions, those fear-based emotions, out of our childhood, then we can actually see ourselves live in much an energetic, vitality-based life, I guess in that sense. Because the subconscious mind holds all of those thoughts, those emotions, and those feelings. They could be positive, majority they are, but let's just say, for instance, if 50% of our day, and I don't know if this is exactly like how it works, but if we're living 50% of our day in fear, let's just kind of state that 50% of the thoughts in the subconscious mind are based on the fear in that sense. So once we actually meditate or get ourselves in that theta state to actually release a lot of those negative emotions, you'll see it go back to 50, 40, 30. And the more you release all that fear from the subconscious mind, you'll actually get yourself back to the present moment, which there won't be as much stress anymore. You wouldn't have to worry. You wouldn't have to be, in so much anxiety case. I mean, the reason why I say this and I'm so truthful behind this is because I've seen it within myself. I mean, just kind of thinking about the times in the past when I had to do presentations when I was in, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, that was very stressful times for me. I still remember a couple of times, but yet again, that's for me to get past a lot of those things I have tied into my subconscious mind that could very well be correlating to my physical body itself. So Dr. Chip, he talked a little bit about the sympathetic dominance case, which this is fight or flight. Yet again, we live in such a society that we have all the protection we need. We have houses, locked doors, everything. But yet again, we still live in this like there's a lion still chasing us throughout the whole entire day. And we never get ourselves back into this let rest and digest. When you understand how emotions are tied into the subconscious mind, and if you get rid of those, you can find yourself in this very relaxed state. Not too relaxed, but in a relaxed state that you can find yourself actually just like living in the present moment. It's pretty phenomenal. You should try it out. So when it comes back to quantum physics, when we look at these frequencies, the kind of the flip of the coin when it comes to fear is love. So if we want to find some direction of where to go, I would recommend, we'll go over it a little bit, but kind of flipping and try to find all those fear things that usually relate all the way from the age of 0 and 7. I'm going to say it again so it sticks into your mind, is to get rid of all those fear-based emotions and then substitute it for love. This is what was neat for me in my transformational process, is understanding that when I was a kid, I didn't know a whole lot about emotions. So I'm not going to look at my past or anything that happened in the past and say like, why did you do that? I mean, all this is pretty much guilt, but why did you do that? I mean, this is, you could have done better. Well, the fact of loving your past will definitely just kind of scoop that all out and release a lot of that fear. But love and gratitude goes directly together as the same exact thing. So I'm super grateful for all the things I've gone through my past, how I was very anxious and worried about all the presentations I did, third grade all the way to college. Actually, in the last week, I still have a little bit of anxiety doing presentations, but that's all part of the fun. So gratitude essentially is just the quality of being thankful. It's readiness to show appreciation for and return the kindness. So my gratitude and appreciation is trying to return the kindness more towards my patients that I try to go energy coaching with, for them to understand with my past and what I've gone through to kind of help them out in their journey as well. So the gratitude with digestion, you got to think about these everyday emotions can cause stress to keep you in that fight or flight. We've been talking about it a lot, but all those emotions are stored in your subconscious mind. We got to release those so we don't have to live in such a fight or flight state. And gratitude, and this is the beautiful thing with quantum physics, emotions, subconscious mind, this broad but yet very unknown by the public, this research that is going on is figuring out the correlation of energy and emotions and the body. And when it comes to gratitude, it's now scientifically proven to put you back in that parasympathetic state or ease. So when it comes to digestion, we kind of got to go back to we are not what we eat, we are what we digest and assimilate. Digestion takes a lot of energy. You're kind of bringing something of food into your body to make in the energy that you have to digest the food that you want. However, are you really actually optimizing the digestion or the absorption of a lot of these nutrients? Everyone's in such a fight or flight state, even when they get home from work, but yet they work or they're still stressing out while they're sitting down to eat, which is it's not the issue. The issue I look at it as is how is that person programmed in their subconscious mind that keeps them going back to this fearful state every single time. The way that I look at it is it's not the actual partake in the stressful time during digestion. It's what's the program putting them back in. That's the root cause to it. So if we get rid of that fear in the subconscious mind, then you can find yourself actually saving a lot of money. You won't be as hungry as much because you'll be absorbing all the more nutrients. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win situation. So the recommendations that I have for you is to relieve all those survival emotions that we don't need anymore. Why do we have to live in fear all the time? You can kind of essentially state that there's probably plenty of research out there of how fear correlates with the virus that's going through right now. And we can also implement, and they call it high vibrational emotions. And the three that I always have in mind for people is love, peace, and joy. If you kind of correlate all of your future emotions towards that, try to program that subconscious mind with those three emotions. Your reality will essentially just partake in itself and it'll be much more at ease. And that's what I'm saying is once you actually get rid of all these, implement all these, you'll find yourself living more into the present moment. And yet again, be grateful for it. I think it's the part of I actually kind of researched a little bit is people focus on these goals, the finished goals of what they want to do in life. But a lot of everyone, mostly these coaches that are going on, is looking more at the process goals. What goals do you want to have to actually enjoy the journey within the process? What are you grateful for the things that are going to give you to that actual goal, not so much the goal itself. So that's all I have for you at the moment for the emotional section. The next health shop that we have going on is going to be on April 6th for environmental when it comes to the stressors as well as food and how we can help that the natural way. And then again, we have much of our social media pages ready to go for you. Instagram and Facebook, we're at Natural Health Quincy IL. We also have a YouTube page, which we'll put all of our health shops on YouTube as well as Brighteon at Natural Health Quincy. You can always call us at 217-228-2040. If you have any questions, come on in at 2000 Jefferson Street in Quincy, Illinois to help to schedule an appointment with Dr. Mark with nutrition, Dr. Chip with chiropractic, and me for energy coaching and Reiki. Thanks.
I like it.